Hey Amrita,
Hey Shah,
how you
how are
been?
you doing? I'm good.
I'm
How are
good.
you?
I'm good too. I'm good too. Great to be a part of this event.
I'm super excited to be hosting this event.
Awesome, awesome. So I think we have a pretty good lineup, right, Amrita?
Yes, I'm super thrilled to and honored to have all these array of remarkable women joining us today.
Yeah,
So yeah, really looking forward to the event today.
yeah, definitely. I feel great as well to be a part of the initial part of the discussion, and then we can actually quickly move on with the rest of the proceedings as well. So Amrita, do you want to give a quick introduction about what's GDG Cloud KL? And then I'll give an introduction about a Google Developer Space as well.
Yeah, sure. All right then. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, GDG Cloud KL is a friendly nonprofit community of developers working with or interested in learning more about the Google Cloud Platform. So we're based in Kuala Lumpur, and we host events to create opportunities for amazing developers like yourselves, and yeah, with similar interests to meet and share ideas related to technology. So yeah, Shaf.
Awesome. Thanks for that introduction, Amrita. So hi everyone. I'm Shafraz from Developer Relations team at Google. I'm here to help out one of our awesome communities over here in Kuala Lumpur. And then we have like an amazing lineup of speakers today. They have gathered around to celebrate the International Women's Day today. So without taking much time, let me give a brief introduction about what's Google Developer Space is about, and what we do as well. So Google Developer Space is a platform for developers and startups around the region to learn and connect with one another. We have a physical space in the Google Singapore office, but unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, we have moved every developer-related activity online. So we regularly host online activities with developers, with communities, and also like awesome individuals similar to that you're gonna listen to in a short while. And we are really looking forward to this International Women's Day coffee day that GDG Cloud KL is going to host in a little while. And I think, Amrita, without taking much time, I would love to give you the control back to you so you can continue with the rest of the proceedings.
Okay, thanks, Shaf. So before we start, I'd like to wish all the amazing a very happy International Women's Day. IWD 2021 was on the 8th of March. But I believe that, it's not just a one-day celebration, but all of you deserve to be celebrated every single day. So in this session, we'll be introducing you to 5 panelists who have created great impact in the community. So the diverse group of women are persistent in carving their path while uplifting people around them. So welcome to our virtual coffee date once again with these remarkable women to discuss the incredible strength and power women have shown in the face of adversity. So sit back with your coffee or any preferred drinks, and let's take this opportunity to be inspired to have the courage to create. So I'd like to welcome all of our speakers. So hi everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So welcome to our session today. It's super exciting to have all of you here. So without further ado, let's start with introducing ourselves. I'll probably go first. And yeah, so I'm Amrita. I'm the lead for GDG Cloud KL. So currently I'm an associate technology consultant at Ernst & Young. And I'm a recent graduate from the University of Malaya, majoring in artificial intelligence. So I founded DSE Malaysia and DSE University Malaya before this, and I'm very passionate about leading events and helping others reach out their full potential. So moving forward, let's start with Dara. Dara, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Amrita, and everybody else who is coming here. And that's amazing to have a sit with you all and chit chat on everything that's related to women in tech. My name is Dara. I am from Kazakhstan, but I've been living in Malaysia for like past 5 years. I've been working there, studying there as a software engineer and data scientist at this company called CK. Most of you probably know it as JobStreet or JobsDB. And currently, I am based in Madrid, Spain, where I work as a software engineer in Amazon. And like concurrently, I'm also kind of building up some projects, but that's like just a side hustle kind of thing. So yeah, thanks to you all.
That's amazing. Thanks, Dara. Next up, let's go with Devi. Devi, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, guys. Nice to meet everyone, and nice to meet all the panelists here. I'm sure I can learn a lot from you guys. So I'm Davy. I head Ascend Now, which is an online coaching platform. We support students both academically and beyond here in Singapore, Indonesia, and India. Prior to that, I spent about 4 years at Goldman Sachs in New York, investment banking, and graduated from Georgetown. Prior to that, studying philosophy and economics. Really excited to kind of talk all things women, and Amrita, thank you for having me here.
Thank you for joining us, Devi. It's an honor to have all of you. Next up, Fatima.
Hello, everyone. I'm Fatima. Thank you again, Amrita, and everyone here. It's great, just like the other speaker said, to be talking about women and technology on this Saturday morning. Yeah, it's morning here in Qatar. I'm Fatima. I just graduated from the University of Nottingham. I did my degree in computer science. And I moved back to Qatar, and I'm working at Qatar Mobility Innovation Center as an AI developer. Yeah, I love technology. I've been involved a lot in the community in Malaysia, especially with the refugee community, and from teaching them math, science, and also how to code. I honestly believe like technology can truly empower and unlock so many potentials. So I'm excited to talk more about that today and learn from the other speakers.
Thanks, Fatima. Absolutely agree with that. So next up, let's invite Kamra.
Hi guys, it's really nice to see everyone. Some of you I know, so hi, I'm Rachel, hi Fatima, hi Dara, long time no see. But it's awesome to be speaking with you guys today. My name is Kamra. I'm currently the lead data scientist at UMobile. Previously, I was both a data scientist and then I was a prototyping engineer for digital POCs in banking in Malaysia. And previously, I was also the lead for Women Techmakers KL, and I also love community. I think it's really important. You meet like-minded women who have the same drive and are interested in the same things that you are as well. So I think it's really important, community building and to help pass on knowledge you learn and help teach and expose other women to new technologies as well.
Thanks a lot, Kamra. Okay, last but not least, we have Rachel.
Hi, everyone. My name's Rachel. I'm an American living in Singapore. I've been in Singapore for about 4.5 years. I work at a financial technology startup called Stashaway. I've been with them from the very beginning. I was the first marketing full-time hire there. And now I work as the head of growth marketing there. I am also on the product team as the UX writer for the product. So very close with the designers. And then probably the exact opposite of technology, I'm also writing a book on personal finance. So as I mentioned, Stashaway is a financial technology company. Financial literacy and financial inclusion have always been really what have motivated me so much. I've worked in microfinance, nonprofits for financial literacy in New York, Uganda, and Vietnam. And I really just believe that technology is the way to scale access to financial solutions. But I still am a writer by my core skill set, and so I'm also working on that.
All right, thanks a lot, Rachel. So once again, thanks to all of our panelists for joining us. And we haven't even started. We've just started with the introduction. I'm already super inspired with what you all are venturing into. Yeah, so before we start, I'd like to just briefly share with our participants what the agenda for today. So we'll be starting today with a rapid fire round where our panelists will be asked a couple of several questions, and they'll have to answer it without overthinking, because I know, like me, I overthink a lot. But so today, just let's have fun and just say whatever that's coming out on your mind when I ask the question. So we'll start with the rapid fire round, and we'll be moving forward with the coffee chat. So everyone, sit back and grab your preferred drink or coffee and join us for today and have some fun. So let's start with our rapid fire round. So to our panelists, I'll just brief you once again. I'll be asking you questions, and we could go about one by one answering it. So let's make it as quick as possible, and don't overthink. That's the main rule. Okay. Okay. Are you all ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's get started. So first question: who's your female role model? Let's start with Dara.
My female role model, I guess, is my mom, because she's the one who inspired me to be independent and do my own thing. She's an ENT doctor and she owns her own medical center, and that's why I guess it's very inspirational. I saw an example growing up of how a woman could lead and still be in a very niche field.
Awesome. Devi?
My role model is my grandmother. She sort of inspired me since I was a child. She basically raised me growing up in Belgium, so I think she would certainly be my role model in terms of just doing what I think is right all the time, and trying to not let fear be part of my decision-making process. I think those are the two things I learned.
Okay, and Fatima?
For me, I wouldn't say there's one female role model. There's a lot of lovely ladies in my life that I learned so much from. My mom definitely, teaching me how to be patient and persistent. My grandma, people I meet at the workplace, the managers, all of these things, all of these people, they teach me, in terms of career-wise and life-wise. I always look up to them and, improve on myself.
Awesome. Kamra?
So many, especially nowadays, like there's so many women out there. So one of them would be, her name's Luma Freed. She's the founder, aka Lady Ada. So she's the founder of Ada Food Industries, which builds components and educates people on, technology and electrical components. And another one I saw that was really cool the other day, the NASA Perseverance rover landing. Swati Mohan leading operations. I thought that was sick. That was really cool to see a woman, leading that mission. And then also, I think Carly Kloss was really cool, Victoria's Secret model and whatever, but also taught herself programming, started a coding school, Code with Flossy. I think there's so many great role models these days, women role models that are all out there, and it's really inspiring.
I totally agree with all of you. And let's move on to Rachel.
Yeah, it's true. There's so many role models out there, and now with social media and platforms like this, we're able to come across so many more women than we would have otherwise been able to. I think then even my mom's generation, if you ask that question, it's really just who you know and maybe a couple people in history books. So it's really cool to be able to see so many more people being able to elevate themselves, so we can all learn from each other. But one person who, even before social media, who's always been a pillar in my life, has been my grandmother. And so she had diagnosed with polio when she was 24 years old. She already had 2 kids, and she became one of the longest survivors of polio in the world. She died when she was 86 years old. So she lived her entire life with it, and then had 2 more kids and never once complained. She always had a smile on her face and just never let that give her any excuses or anything like that. So she's very, very important to me.
Okay, thanks a lot for sharing. I totally believe that, there are so many women out there who are so strong, and they keep fighting for what they need. And it's great that now we have this kind of platform where we get to meet and empower each other. So yeah, let's move on to our next question. So what's your favorite film with a female lead? I know this is difficult, even I would need some time to think about it, but shoot.
Gone with the Wind.
Sorry?
Gone with the Wind, Scarlett from there.
Okay.
Because
Alright.
yeah, it was amazing how she showcased a very strong character without giving up, no matter what are the situations, what is the consequences, and what are the leads that are coming through her life. She even killed a person. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it's totally crazy how one could be smart but at the same time survival. Like, you know, she was devastated. She didn't have anything in the movie, and yet she survived. So yeah.
Okay. Davy.
I would say Kate Blanchett from Queen Elizabeth, probably.
Okay. Fatima?
For me, it would be Merida from the Disney movie Brave. She was very like a unusual Disney princess. She didn't fit like that Disney princess sort of persona, and she's very independent, and her relationship with her mom and everything, and how she wants to be a warrior and so on. It was really inspiring watching that.
Okay. Kamra.
Okay, it's a Disney one as well. So Beauty and the Beast, Belle. Like, I think I'm old, so when I was watching that growing up, there wasn't a lot of maybe now it's like a lot of the leads are a lot stronger, the female leads. But back in the day, I thought Belle was really cool because she read a lot of books like me and wanted to see the world and everything. So that's my favorite.
Awesome. And Rachel?
There's a lot of Disney lovers here. The first movie that came to mind was Mulan for me. That was a movie that I watched constantly when I was a kid. I always played sports and had 3 brothers, and so I kind of just always kind of like understood that like feeling of like trying to get along with guys and just still like make things work and all of that. So I really liked that one. I haven't seen the new version though, so I'm talking about the old one.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
nice.
I haven't watched the new one either.
It's nice. I like it, the new one.
Yeah, I would love to watch it because like when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Mulan as well, and I would like watch it again and again and again and never get bored of it. Yeah.
I recently watched it again, but and like I knew all the words to one of the songs, but then there was that one song that I heard that they took out of the new one, and it was "I'll Make a Man Out of You" or something. One of those. Yeah, I think it was that one. But there were a couple issues there, so they had to adapt it for today.
Yeah, so I guess our participants know what to do after this. They can probably go on Netflix or something. And I don't think the Disney movies are there though, but yeah, you could probably watch these movies and spend your weekend with your families. So next up, what technologies could you not live without?
Hardware or software?
Anything.
Like everything? Without my monitor, without my laptop, without my keyboard.
Oh my God, that's it.
Without Apple Watch, I don't think I can live.
Davey?
Yeah, I agree with Dara. Almost everything. My toothbrush is electric. So, no, but I think that we have this like addiction to technology. I think everyone's sort of guilty of it, right? So I personally am trying to, switch my phone off 30 minutes before I sleep or 1 hour.
I tried. That didn't work for me.
Neither did it work for me. And Fatima?
I mean, I wouldn't say live without, because I could definitely still survive without my phone and all this stuff. But like, you still need it for your job and communicating with people. But if I were to be thrown in a jungle or a desert, I think I'd still survive. It's not that. But yeah, who am I kidding? We are all addicted to my phone in some ways. So yeah, definitely like phone. It's like, so you use it for taking pictures, to keep memories, to tell the the time, everything. So definitely it's something very useful to have. I mean, it would be hard if we don't have it.
And Kamra?
Phone much better. Yes, yeah.
Okay, and Rachel?
I'd probably be really, really sad if my Apple Watch broke, and I'd be more sad if that broke than if my phone broke. So I'm gonna say my Apple Watch.
Okay. Yeah, so since we're all women in tech, the next question is, what new technology would you want to create that will transform the future?
I'm kind of already doing it, but I don't want to spill the tea yet. So, of course, there are different types of technologies that could help in the future, and there are tons of plans that I have, which are related to medical tech, educational tech, and dating scene. So that's how far I can go with explaining it. You will see it in the future if you follow my social medias.
Okay, we'll be following you, and we'll also share it with we'll share your social so that everyone can keep up to date with that.
Thanks.
Yeah, and Devi.
For me, it revolves around personalized learning, I think. And again, we're kind of developing something similar, but it would be really awesome if a student could kind of input a certain amount of data and a course could be delivered in exactly the way that the student would absorb that content. For example, I'm a conversational learner. I don't learn via notes. I learn via discussion of something, and I need to learn this topic for 3 minutes, and I want it to be delivered via a music TikTok video. I think that could be so cool, but it's obviously harder to implement, easier said than done. I think that would really change a lot of educational journeys for kids.
Totally agree with that. I mean, even being a student myself, I mean, it wasn't that long back. Yeah, I did, always want to have technologies that could actually help us out with our studies. And I think that would be revolutionizing the whole education system. So yeah, thanks, Davy, for that. And Fatima.
I don't know. There's so many, the thing is with technology, there's so many fields that it could contribute to. Like, in fact, if you look at any field, like whether it's entertainment, transportation, or medical, one of the main reasons they advanced so much is because of technology. So there's so many ways you could use technology, whether like it's education or learning. So I don't know, I'm passionate about education as well. So probably something along those lines, and even security. Technology can enhance security as well. Transportation, finding the easiest way to go from A to B with all these like different modes of transportation. It would be exciting to see what like new technologies emerge, and would love to be part of that. But it's sort of like science fiction. All the stuff you see on these movies, like Star Wars and all this stuff, it's already happening. So I don't know. I don't have a particular answer for that, but I'm definitely sure that we would see crazy stuff coming up in the next years.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to all these new things coming up. And Kamra, what do you have in mind?
I like Fatima, I don't really have an answer to this question. The thing is, technology is collaborative. It's not like a single person creating it anymore. It's a group effort, right? And things that you could contribute to is like, open source libraries and stuff. That is, something you could do. But in terms of what I could create, I don't think it's anything that isn't already out there. Maybe contribute a bit to, open source library, or glue things together in a way that they haven't been used before. But the new technologies that I am excited about, it's like, all the space stuff, the satellite, Elon Musk's satellites in space. And, I think there was an article that came up about how theoretically they could come up with an engine to travel at the speed of light, or faster than the speed of light. Those kind of things I find really interesting. But in terms of like individual technologies, I think most things exist already. And it's not about you just creating. You can contribute, to an existing technology. But there's very few new things that's being created by a single person. It's very much a team effort. Yeah.
Okay. Also, now let's move on to Rachel.
I definitely want to stay in the financial technology space. I can't see myself really getting out of that. But I want to stay more on the financial inclusion side, as I mentioned. So getting more access to the unbanked and underbanked would be where I'd want to contribute my efforts.
Okay, awesome. All right, moving on to our next question. But before that, I'd like to let our viewers know if you have any questions, feel free to just send it in our comment section in the live chat. Or also, while we're asking questions to our panelists here, if you have something interesting to share with us, please do share it with us as well. We would love to know what you have in mind. And yeah, so moving to our next question. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? What is it that you want?
I know the name in Russian. I forgot what's that in English. When you just attract things in your hands.
Okay.
You transport them and then they come to you. Like I keep on
Also,
dreaming.
you control with your mind?
Yeah.
Like telekinesis?
I used to.
Yeah. Telekinesis.
Okay. And David?
I'd say to not have to sleep and be rested. So to require sleep. I think that would be really good.
Okay. And Fatima?
For me, it would be to like have good memory, like be able to remember all the books that I read, all the articles that I read, be able to like just access them right away when I like want them. And so, yeah, having good memory.
And Kamra?
I just want to fly. Like, I think that would be really cool if we could just fly and go up and down. Like, very, very simple superpower. Just fly.
And Rachel?
Mine's also to remember everything.
Okay. And what do you think is a superpower that you already have then? What is your superpower?
This is hard. But I think it ties back to something that I've written down in my Ikigai, which is teach in a very simplest way. Like teach a hard topic in a very simple way and creating some new innovations in technology.
Okay. Davey?
I don't know if this is a superpower. I actually don't think I have any superpowers, but I think I click well with students. I think it's really easy for me to understand them. So I think maybe that would be one.
That's definitely a superpower. Not everyone can do that. Fatima?
For me, I think a skill that I appreciate that I have is that I can adapt to difficult situations easily. So that's something like I notice like when there's a problem or an issue happening, I can like, take a step back and see like how to solve things. So that's something I appreciate about myself. And yeah.
Okay. Moving to our next question. Oh, sorry. Moving on to Kamra.
Oh. I think I have a lot of grit. Because, sometimes you work in places, it's not just about, your code or the technology or what you're doing. There's like a lot of like real life problems, like legacy issues and dealing with people and things like that. So I think like my superpower would be I do have a lot of grit and I will see things through.
Okay. And Rachel?
I actually ask this in all of my interviews when I'm hiring on my team. And so it's nice to actually have to answer it myself. I'd say it's my communication skills in terms of writing and storytelling. Yeah.
All right, that's awesome. So the reason why I asked this question is because I noticed that last year during an event by GDG as well, they told me how it's important to identify for each and every one of us to identify our superpower. So I know the sound, like saying like, what is your superpower? It might sound a little weird or childish when you just ask someone, but the thing is, as we grow older, we're not thinking about these things, we're sometimes too caught up with what we're doing. We forget about identifying these things that we're good at. And sometimes we can be harsh on ourselves, thinking that, like wondering, what am I even good at? The thing is, like, each and every one of us do have a superpower. That's something that we do, which is unique about us. So yeah, I'd like to tell our audience to think about this and let us know as well what's your superpower. Or you can also share it with your community and talk about this to identify your strength and work towards it. Okay, next question. What's the one thing that makes you happiest?
Sorry, I was lost. It's the one thing that makes you happiest. My family. Every time I have struggles, every time I have. Sorry, just a quick one. Every time I have struggles, every time there is something going on, my family is always there for me. So even in the darkest moments, they make me happy.
I totally agree with Dara.
Okay, Fatima?
Yeah, same. Like, spending time with the people you love, spending time with your cats and your pets, all those moments, you cherish them, and gives you serotonin, makes you happier.
Kamra?
I think, it's important to have a good support system. But what makes me pretty happy as well is, when you're working on something and it's really interesting and you're really passionate about it, and it's going well, and maybe you're the first to do something, that makes me pretty happy too.
And Rachel?
Yeah. So the one thing that I can always count on that can get me out of a bad mood or get me out through a tough problem or whatever that is not seeing people. I'm actually really introverted. So it's a tough workout for me that will always get me back to where I need to be.
Okay, now let's move to our next question, which is, what's one goal you want to achieve this year?
I want to get my promotion.
Yes.
I want that
too. That's one thing I really want to achieve this year, and I'm hoping to achieve it.
And Davy?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. One goal I want to achieve this year, I think it's like the internal targets that we have as a team. That's one goal. And the second goal might be just a balance, a healthier balance in life. That would be great.
For me, the goal that I always have in mind is constantly be a better version of myself, like compare myself to my previous self and just be better. And also just, more specific. I recently moved back to Qatar, and, the tech community here is different from how it was in KL. One thing I appreciate about being in KL, you have all these meetups and all these great community, you get to network. So the one thing I would want to do here in Qatar is, build something like that and use the skills that I gained from being involved in communities in KL and bring it here in Qatar. So that's one thing I hope to do throughout this year. But it might be difficult with all these COVID restrictions, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. And Kamra?
I agree with Debbie. I definitely need a lot more balance in my life. I think when you're in technology, you kind of have to be good with chaos. But you gotta do everything in moderation and balance things out as well.
Absolutely. And Rachel?
Yeah. Last year I burned out, I didn't even know it was possible. So I echo what Davey and Kamra said too. It's finding that balance. I'm at almost the other extreme where I'm now kind of chilling out more. And now I know it's not probably the best. So I really want to find that balance. And I want to finish my book this year.
Awesome. Okay. Our next question is, what is that one courageous decision in life that you've made you're most proud of? What's that highlight that you have in your mind?
I think in my case, is to actually be bold enough to apply to FANG level companies and actually pass that interview. That was the courage that I needed there was tremendous, and people around were very helpful. And that's where I would like to pass it to the audience as well, where, you know, if it's still a company, there are still people, they're humans, they're not unreal, so you could join us. Yep, that's the kind of courageous thing.
I think for me, it's probably moving to Singapore when I didn't really know anyone here, maybe similar to Rachel, I don't know. But I moved, from the US where I had a community, I had family, and I moved here and said, okay, I'm just going to start a company, and then here I am 4 years later. So maybe that's the one.
For me, I sort of like, it's what, along with Dara said, like applying to these opportunities. Like when I was applying for the Google Women Technical Scholarship, I remember when I was reading the ad, I was like, oh yeah, that's like totally not for someone like me. It was only like, I think the day before the deadline, I was courageous enough to be like, you know what, let me just go for it. And I applied and I, passed the first round and the second round interviews and I got the scholarship. So that's something, and like other opportunities as well, like also applying for the current job that I had. I remember when I read the job description, I was like, for me, this is one thing I read, apparently, and it's more common with women. Apparently, like when we read job descriptions and we see like all the qualifications, women tend to be more, they would want to have all the listed skills. Whereas, the opposite gender, even if they're, only 20% or 30%, they would apply for it, which is, something very interesting that I read. So I saw that within myself as well when I was applying for this job. I was like, no, I don't have all the skills. I just graduated. They would never accept me. But then I went for it and I passed it. So it's I'm grateful that I was courageous and bold enough to actually go for it. That's also something I would pass on to just like Dara said, they're just people just like you and me. Just go for it, and what's the worst that could happen?
That's something I totally can relate to, because even for me, being a student trying to apply for these opportunities, I had these same questions. I look at these description and I start wondering, am I even there yet? And even the thought of applying used to scare me before. So yeah, I'd say that I do face that every now and then, even today. But yeah, I keep reminding myself, what Fatima said, what's the worst that can happen, right? Yeah, so I think that's something I can really relate to. Moving on to Kamra.
So this would definitely be my first hackathon. So I had a bunch of girlfriends and we signed up for the AT&T Developer Day in 2015. And none of us knew what on earth we were doing. I just started teaching myself Android programming a month prior to that. So we all went and we just we were just out of water. It was an all-girls team. We had no idea what we were doing. We didn't even really know the whole hackathon format, what you're supposed to do, right? But it worked out so well because everyone had their own skills, and you had the business people and people who could pitch. And for me, I managed to build a prototype on Android and stuff, and we actually won third place in it, which for us at the time was crazy because we just really went into it without having any idea what we were doing, and we just adapted and adapted and adapted until we built something that actually worked and impressed the judges. But that was definitely I think my most courageous, because it was really just putting yourself out there, opening yourself up to criticism, and really not being comfortable and not even knowing what you're doing, right? But I think those kind of experiences, they teach you, sometimes in work, you've got to do something and you don't really know where you're going with it, but you have to be confident enough that you can come up with a solution. So I think, that's my most courageous experience. And it's always important to just put yourself out there, throw yourself in the deep end and see what happens.
And Rachel?
I'd have to say it was quitting my job in the US and moving to Singapore without a job, knowing that I wanted to work in fintech in Southeast Asia. So I packed 2 suitcases. I had a friend who was living here, and so I just moved into one of his bedrooms and tried to make it work. And within a month and a half, it was really lucky that I met the founders of Stashaway. They were looking to build out their founding team, and a lot of it's just right place, right time, and you can like chalk that up to luck. But I do believe that we also create our own luck, and so I encourage everyone to believe that things can happen, but you do have to trust yourself and sometimes take those risks.
Thanks a lot for sharing this. Yeah, so I have one last question for this rapid fire. What does being a woman mean to you?
Oh, I love this one. Actually, those are very great questions. Thanks for preparing them. For like being a woman for me personally means that I can think differently, and the way that I approach work, I don't necessarily like. I came to this recently that I don't suppress my female side. Instead, I embrace it. So I'm no longer like trying to hold on where I'm not supposed to trying to, you know, act like a man when I'm not a man to begin with. So I'm trying to embrace that and kind of integrate it with the work that I'm doing and encourage others to do so as well. That became really doable thanks to my current company and my managers being very supportive on that end. I've never been discriminated on that. So that's something that means being a woman for me, and also like potentially giving birth in the future to kids. So it's very wonderful experience, I think, and that's not something that men can have. So yeah.
Absolutely. And Davy?
I think it's acknowledging that, you know, we are different, right? We have a different set of, by nature, there is a reason that there are men and women. And so I think embracing that womanhood, as Dara said, and encouraging and empowering other women that maybe need empowering or encouraging. I know when I was in my first job, I was so lucky to have, you know, a mentor and being assigned a mentor. And she told me the first time I met her, you know, I take mentorship so seriously, and she very much did take it very seriously. And she helped me embrace being a woman in a male-dominated field like finance, where you sometimes can feel shy or intimidated to stand up and share your opinion. So I think being bold enough to state your why, that's something. But it can mean a lot of things, I think, to different people. But that's what it means to me.
Yeah, for me, yeah, I like what Devi said about knowing your why. I think once you know why you're doing what you're doing, like set your intentions, the how would become clear. And, you know, your gender isn't necessarily something that should hold you back. You know, just like they mentioned, it's men and women are different, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You embrace your femininity and use it for your advantage, whether it's in your career or in your life. Being bold, persevering, being patient, you know, seeing things from different perspectives. You know, our brains are wired differently, and you could use that to your advantage. So yeah, being the best person that you are, and, you know, adding value to the community around you.
And Kamra?
Yeah, I think that's a very hard question. I agree with what Fatima and Debbie said. Like, you know, like your brains are wired differently, and you know, like what I also feel, it's like you're always like, especially in technology, like overcoming adversity, right? Because you are in a male-dominated field, and you know, you do think differently, but you also have different strengths. You know, maybe you're more like nurturing, and you know, you see how people react emotionally to things as well, and you're better able to manage people. Yeah.
And Rachel?
I'd say for me, it's probably like tapping into that more nurturing, mothering side of me that I've always had, whether it's with my cousins when I was a kid or when I was babysitting, to now managing a substantially sized team, and really just embracing that and being okay having that soft side.
Thanks a lot for your answers. I totally agree with all of you. And yeah, I remember, back then when we were kids, we were told, you have to act tough and stuff like that. And I think, that's how sometimes we end up, trying to shut down the feminine side in us, thinking that, it seems weak or something. But that's absolutely not the case. I think that, it does help us to empathize and it makes us stronger people. So I totally agree with what all of you said. And once again, thank you for your answers. So that's about it with our rapid fire round. So now let's move to our coffee chat. So yeah, all of you have come from different backgrounds and gone through a lot of things in life, but you're here today. And yeah, I want to know what made you choose this path in life, and how did you get into the tech industry? So yeah, Davy, would you mind answering this?
Sure. My introduction to technology is not very conventional, I would say, because when I started Ascend Out, it was very much an ed first company. So ed precedes the tech and ed tech. So we really focused on the content. We really focused on the curriculum. And in the early days, it was a tutoring service. So we'd actually go to homes and tutor in person. And one day, one of our teachers got ill and she said, let me try doing this online. And we said, okay, no problem. And then she called me after and she said, wow, it's so effective online. It saves me time. And the kid consumes information online so well, so beautifully, so effectively. Let's transform the whole business online. So from that, we went into the tech portion, right? It wasn't something, I wish I could say I was smart enough to have thought of that, but no, absolutely not. It was one of those organic changes. So now it's really beautiful that, we can access 600, 700 students, and we have teachers globally, a lot of teachers in India, a lot of teachers in Indonesia that could benefit from this extra income of tutoring or coaching online. And we see, and I think Dara maybe mentioned that, someone mentioned that, tech is such a beautiful amplifier to access, right? And that's really the case in our business.
And that's interesting, from education to tech. I think being students, we prefer having classes. Like I would say that I learned mostly everything by watching videos on YouTube and things like that. So yeah, to actually come from education and then slowly moving towards tech and bringing this integration together, that's amazing. Yeah, Fatima. So what about you? Like, what brought you to this field?
Well, for me, while I was in school, in high school, I just knew that I loved like solving problems. I loved solving puzzles. I enjoyed math a lot, and I didn't really hear about the term computer science. I think while you're growing up, like you hear a lot about medicine, engineering, and all this stuff, but you don't really. I think now it is more talked about. Kids get introduced to computer science. But for when I was like, in high school, it was only like towards the end of my high school, I heard about there's like a workshop about like introduction to computer science, and then I did it and I really liked it. It's just it's computer science is essentially the science of problem solving. So I went in, and I just graduated, and I love it. I love how it teaches you so many skills that you could use in your daily lives, and it's very multidisciplinary. I've only been in this field for like around 4 years, which is like my uni experience, and we've worked on projects in agriculture, medicine, real estate. So there's so much you can learn, which is great for someone like me because I have a lot of interests. So I feel like computer science doesn't like constrict you to like a specific thing. Like you get introduced to a lot of areas, which is something I appreciate. So like one advice I would give, if you're a high school student and you're watching this and you don't know what to do, but you enjoy math and stuff, I would recommend you go for computer science, because even if you decide to pivot later on, you still have all these great skills in your arsenal that you could use in the next thing you're going to jump on. So yeah.
I totally agree with what Fatima said, because I remember, growing up, I never heard this term computer science at all. It was only when I was starting to like apply for universities, then I started to notice, okay, there's this field, but for some reason, everyone told me it's not meant for girls. I don't know why. Yeah, but when I started like asking around, what do you think about joining for computer science? And because I like doing maths and stuff. So obviously my family was the one that introduced it to me, and they were saying, this is definitely something you should try out. But there were many people out there who said, I don't think you would fit well into this community and stuff like that. But I think I've found this community a place where I really feel that I belong in, and I love working with this community. So yeah, I think that's something that right now students are getting more exposure to, but that's definitely something anyone should, with interest in it, or they think that they have an interest in it, they should definitely try it out with a lot of resources online. And yeah. Okay, so moving on, I want to ask, what has helped you guys get to where you are today? How do you think that, how did you carve your path to this? Dara, would you mind sharing with us?
It's really hard to answer, but I think, like, of course, there is many people who helped out, and there is this portion of it. But when it comes to my personal kind of perseverance, is when I just went in and do it. It's like there is this Russian saying where your eyes fear what you're doing, but your hands are just doing it. So in that sense, that's what my life is all about. And even now, what I'm doing, I'm actually very scared of. Like, I'm scared to just break everything apart with my changes in codes. And imagine Amazon's author side being down just because of me. That just gives me nightmares. So that's a kind of the part where I just do it without having to think too much about the consequences, and actually learn from it, and always constantly learning, constantly relearning things, and going forward and trying things out, and never stop learning. That's something that I think that brought me here, and that helped me as a person to evolve. Because if I were to compare myself even a year back, I'm like, oh my goodness, she was so silly, she was so foolish, and all of this. And maybe a year back from now, that would be the comparison I'll make to myself right now. So that's something that I'm hoping and aiming for.
And Rachel, what about you?
I'd say it was learning to not think that I had to do everything on my own. Since I was a kid, I was super independent. And I thought that like I could just move out to Singapore and everything was fine. And like I was fearless, and still am. But now realize that by surrounding myself with the right people, I'm even more powerful than I am on my own. But I used to think that relying on anyone, whether it was talking to a manager and like having a good relationship with the manager, or opening up to friends more, opening up to my family more, I think that was a weakness. I think it's actually a strength. And so once I learned that, I think that that's what really propelled me to be more effective in everything I do personally and professionally.
I totally agree with that, to know when to ask for help, and that it's fine to actually ask for help. It doesn't make you any weaker or anything. Yeah. I had that issue myself back then. I used to think that, asking for help would make me seem weak. But over the years, I noticed that, that's when you actually unlock a lot of things, like things you wouldn't have known before unless you ask. You're never going to know. You're going to be in this darkness, in this one box that you've put yourself in. And that would be it. Like, there's nothing more to it than, yeah. And Kamra, what are your thoughts about this? Like, what do you think?
I don't know how I got to where I am today. I think it's a series of fortunate events and just being very curious and putting myself out there. So I came from like engineering, and then I worked in like fixed odds sports betting industry. So I used to professionally bet on football because you have statistical models to predict like the outcomes of games as well, and there's money on that. And then I did like financial engineering for a bit. And I was a quant in quantitative finance, which was fun. It was a lot of maths, a lot of programming. But from there, that's when I decided I wanted to go into tech because it's the same skill set, right? But it's broader base. You're not just, stuck with just, mathematical models and just finance. I wanted to be, to see things and technologies and broaden my horizons. So I think it's a series. And then when I was in banking, like how I got that job was a hackathon. So I won something in one of the hackathons, and then we got a speaking about me working there. So it's a lot of things. I think it's a series of fortunate events that led me to where I am today. But I also think it's being adventurous, learning, and also like networking with people like your colleagues and people you work with all the time. They're actually an asset to you. And if you work with good people and people like you and you can do the work, it's very likely you end up working with them again. Yeah, so things like that I think is how I got to where I got to today.
Totally agree with that. I think for me, it was joining these tech events that really helped me, to feel welcomed. Personally, when I first joined my undergrad degree, I mean, obviously, when I applied for it, I was super excited. I was actually inspired watching Iron Man, so I was like, "Oh, I can do artificial intelligence and start doing stuff like that." And, yeah, but once I joined, I realized it was nothing like that. It was just a lot of alien language that I see on the screen, which I have no idea about. Yeah, so I did feel intimidated and inferior from all these other guys because like in my class it was just me and few other girls. So I'd say like 80% boys and 20% girls, and most of these guys they've been working on they've been coding and stuff, and suddenly I go there not knowing anything about it. Yeah, so yeah, I'd say this whole imposter syndrome thing is a real thing that many are facing. It wasn't just me. At first, I thought there was something wrong with me. Probably I wasn't like putting in enough effort and stuff. And then I realized, like talking to other people, other friends, I noticed that it wasn't just me, and there were so many people out there who are actually feeling that way. They don't feel that they're welcomed, or they feel that they've joined the wrong place. So yeah, joining these events and meeting people like like-minded people. Like I think the first time I went for DevFest, I saw Dara speaking, and that's when I was like, you know what, I'm not alone. So she was the first female speaker that I saw the entire day, and then I was super excited about that. So yeah, I completely agree that networking and meeting people from the industry would really help. And that's how I've gotten where I am today. Um, yeah, so Fatima, how did you feel being part of the community first? Like when you first joined your studies, were you feeling welcomed, or did you have this same issue that I went through?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We always like doubt ourselves when you're in there. Like, there's a lot of people that have experience before that, and you're there just like you don't even know how to print hello world on the screen, and then people are already doing like all these crazy stuff. Yeah, there were times I felt like I'm not cut out for this. But then definitely, like you mentioned, going to all these like tech events and networking, I think that really helped me a lot. And that's one advice I would give to all, especially the university students that are watching this. I think in uni they don't really teach us how important of a skill it is to be involved in the community, network. If you read an interesting article by someone, reach out to them, get to know them, learn from their experiences. It really most of the opportunities that I got introduced to when I was fortunate enough to get them was because I knew people that introduced me to that. So just and that also helps you tackle like this imposter syndrome. Being knowing that there's other people like you, and it's fine that you don't get it. You just keep building. You'll fail at some moments, but don't let that define you. Just keep iterating. It's just like when you're training a machine learning model. The first time, the accuracy will be quite low, but then as you turn it for more, it'll get really well. So in a way, we're like that as well. Just keep doing it. Don't just because it gave you really bad results the first time doesn't mean it doesn't have the potential to make it better. So yeah,
increase data and some feature tuning.
yeah. The hyperparameters and all that. So do yourself something like that, and you'll get better. Don't overthink it. And being part of the community, seeing people like that will help you.
And Rachel, how did you feel when you first joined Stashaway? So coming from coming to this completely new place and then getting into this fintech company. So how did you feel?
I was excited by it, and I also there was like 5 of us in a room that's smaller than the living room I'm sitting in right now, and so there was so much uncertainty already. So it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. It was like about who you're choosing to spend your time with, and I really trusted the founders, and I trusted the skill set that I had, but I also knew that I was going into such uncharted territory that maybe we all failed and maybe we didn't, but I knew it was going to be a learning opportunity no matter what. I spent a lot of time doing due diligence on the founders, to the point where our CEO, he gave me a bunch of people that he had worked with in past companies and let me actually call them to understand how he managed and how they felt that he helped their careers, because I knew that if I was going to be accepting a job on the other side of the world, it had to be, I was already living here, but I had to pick the right job. And so I knew that going into it, I just had to do my due diligence for it. Going into fintech, I had no experience with technology whatsoever. And I often joke that I'm an 80-year-old woman in a young body, because I'm useless when it comes to I don't update my phone. I'm everyone's nightmare. But when it comes to the technology that we need for Stashaway, I'm fine with it now, but it was a really, really steep learning curve. I realized early on, because I was the only marketing hire for a really long time, it was only the dev and product people actually they were all men. I was the only woman on the team for a year or two. And so being able to learn and knowing to learn to use their language, that I could be effective when I needed to explain something, or to be able to understand what they were trying to say when they were explaining something to me. I needed to learn. It wasn't for them to try and make things easier for me. And so I think by making sure that I knew what was going on and I understood the context, and I really doubled down there, and that's what allowed me to, I think, get where I needed to get.
That's really inspiring. The fact that you've put in so much of effort, and you didn't just feel sad for yourself or something, feeling that I'm in a new place, I'm feeling lost and stuff like that. You actually decided to take things in your hand and work things out, and you didn't let that stop you from going after your dreams. So that's really inspiring. Thanks for sharing that, Rachel. And Davy, now that you have been working on Ascent now, what's the most challenging or exciting thing about it for you?
So many exciting things, and also so many challenges, actually, both. Maybe I'll start with the challenge. The challenge, or one of the biggest challenges for us, is to find teachers that work with our method. And again, not to say that our method is the best method, but it's a specific method and a pedagogy that teachers should have. So that's one of the challenges. The exciting part of the business, I think it's really refreshing to see schools like UWC or Tanglin or Dulwich say, okay, we'll partner with you, we believe in your method, and to get that validation from a school is just unbelievably rewarding to the team. And even, for example, reaching out to the MOE and getting them to review our curriculum and giving their insights and what could be improved. Even just having those opportunities, that's just so exciting, because it takes me kind of 3.5 years back when I first started reaching out to the MOE or the schools, and they wouldn't give me a light of day. They wouldn't even give me a minute. So I would walk into the schools and try to get an appointment because no one would answer my calls or emails. So it's that growth, I guess, and to also not forget for the day one, and be grateful for that whole journey. I know COVID is not so kind to every industry that is not tech, right? Blue collar workers are struggling, restaurants are struggling. So just to be mindful of that bit, and seeing where we can help wherever that may be, that's important.
I agree with that. And Kamra, what about you? What's the most challenging or exciting project, let's say, you've worked on?
I can't really talk very much about my work, but what I will
It could be your personal thing as well, because I've noticed that those Instagram filters that you do on it, I find that really amazing. I love that. Yeah, and I've seen my friends using it as well, and every time I see them using it, I'll be like, I know her.
That's hilarious. No, those are fun things I do on the side. In terms of challenging and interesting, so prior to working at UMobile, I was in a bank, right? And I saw both the data science side and also the engineering side. But what I find really interesting working at a telco, right, compared to working at a bank, is the data is it's colossal. The pace of things, it's breathtaking. But just the movement of industry and the pace of things and the scale of things is what I find really exciting and really challenging. Yeah.
And Dara, how about you? I know you're working on a lot of things, and you've been such an inspiration. Just watching you win all those hackathons have been such an inspiration for me and many others out there. So I know it's going to be difficult for you to choose one, but yeah, what's on the top of your mind right now?
I think each and every project is like a baby for me. So every time I was working, I was giving it full attention, care, and courage. But there were times where it didn't go anywhere after the hackathon, and that's where I stopped participating in hackathons because there was just no continuation to that story. And that's why I decided to start something that will go on. So right now we're busy with this project called 30 Dates. And I'm really I started it when there was a Corona time and I was stuck at home, jobless because of Corona. So it just started in my in my grandfather's cabinet, where there were books at the back, but there was an old PC kind of standing there, and I just signed up for this course, and in there I started building this app. And the reason why it actually came out is because I realized that I'm 25 and my personal life didn't go anywhere. And one thing that is relevant in my case, and probably in girls' case here, is that if I don't put some effort into it, it doesn't go anywhere. So I decided to take a step forward and put an effort into it, and actually trying to solve the problem that I'm facing with all the dating apps that are available right now, which is just to waste how much time I just waste swiping left and right, and then just chatting, and then it doesn't go anywhere. So just filtering those people out takes so much time and energy that towards the end of it, I don't even want to go to the date. So I was like, how to solve this? And when I was asking around, I've seen people facing the same issue, and that's where 30 Days was born. It's a kind of a combination of Calendly and Zoom. So currently we're testing it out with our MVP, with our beta testers, and see where it goes from here. And I'm super excited about it. I'm really hoping it goes further. I'm really hoping that one day it becomes Clubhouse, but at the same time I'm frightened by it because of how hard it is to manage that scale, right? You imagine like if one day it hits million of users and servers go down. I don't know how to think about it. So that's exciting and frightening, and I like it so much, and I enjoy it a lot.
That's awesome. I mean, you know, I don't know like when is it that I'll ever get that kind of inspiration in life, to like actually start doing something and making it, work for real. Yeah, so thanks for sharing this story. I hope that would inspire me in future to start working on something and not just stopping halfway, because I think that's something that I've been going through a lot because, joining competitions and a lot of activities and stuff, like we start creating something and then like once the hype is over, then we completely forget about it. So a lot of ideas are being wasted that way. And I hope all these students out there or people out there who join all these competitions, you should keep working on it so that, one day you get to share like how Dara's just got to share about her new baby now. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's definitely inspiring. Yeah, talking about inspiration, Rachel, why don't you share with us an empowering or an inspiring moment that, that was like a turning point in your life?
Question.
I mean, if any of you have that in mind also, feel free to just share with us.
I think the turning point was what I mentioned about moving to Singapore. I think living in the US, I mean, I grew up there. I never quite felt like I fit in. I had traveled abroad a lot. I had studied abroad in high school and in college. And so I knew the world was a lot bigger, and I just never quite felt understood because, and I know I'm totally generalizing here, but a lot of the communities in which I hung out in the US were like a little bit more closed-minded than I wanted, and that they were more comfortable in just the smaller communities, and I really wanted something bigger. And so I wanted that like-mindedness, and that's really one of the reasons, in addition to the professional side of just wanting to be in emerging markets for fintech, why it was so easy for me to make the decision to move. It was also what I thought it was like cool about it was that when I made the decision, it really just kind of like came to me, and then like I told my friends and family the next day, and like not one person said no, really, or didn't take me seriously. Everyone was like, okay, because they knew it made sense. They understood me. So I think that listening to myself there and knowing what I needed to thrive personally, not only professionally, and finding a way to kind of like pair those two things was probably that's probably the biggest turning point. And now I've been here for 4.5 years in Singapore, 4 years at Stashaway, and so. I'm sure there's going to point to so many other smaller like micro moments that have absolutely changed the course of my life in one way or another, but I think that was probably the biggest one.
And that's great how your loved ones were supportive about it. And yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we can achieve in life with the support and with the support from people around us, because that really does matter as well, right? And I have another question where, earlier we mentioned how we have this imposter syndrome and stuff. I noticed that many people that I know, they've struggled with confidence, especially women. So Devi, have you had a moment where you struggled with confidence, and how did you overcome that?
I definitely have had many moments where I struggle with confidence. There's always that "are you good enough" kind of thing at the back of your head. I think I certainly struggled with confidence when I was applying to university. So I was applying from Belgium. I went to a really small high school, which it was like 15 people in my class. So it was very small, and there was a lot of the kids that went to my high school didn't apply to the US. So it was a foreign thing, like even to apply to the US. So that was, I think there were 2 kids in my grade, me and another student that applied. And so that was certainly an area where I was like, I mean, am I good enough? Or am I going to be taken seriously? Or so I was really very apprehensive and scared, but also very excited to get this revenue of knowledge by moving to a new country, by exploring new things in the US. And I'm grateful to the US, I'm grateful to Singapore for just allowing me to have that opportunity in that landscape. But I certainly think, like, in the initial days of like moving to a new country, same thing when I moved to Singapore, I was really not very confident in terms of like, will my business succeed? I was living in an Airbnb, and I had like 2 suitcases, and it wasn't the life that I guess I could have been used to had I stayed at a company like Goldman in New York, which provided all these benefits to employees. So there were many moments that I thought that I couldn't make it, and I think hard work, faith, for me, faith was really important. So I pray quite a lot, and then just sometimes being at the right place at the right time. It just, all of that, right? Like, someone told me once, like, when you say something's gonna happen, it actually does happen. It sounds so hard to explain, but in some ways, I think that person was right.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, talking about that, I have this feeling that many of us, we tend to have this mindset that stops us from doing what we want. So, Fatima, what do you think? Like, how do you think? I mean, like, what advice would you give to either yourself or the people out there on how we can improve our mindset? To not stop ourselves from going after what we want.
Yeah, I mean, it's very normal to have that voice inside of you to say that, oh, you won't be able to do it. It's sort of like a survival tactic. Your body's trying to protect you from danger. We always have this. Human beings are afraid of the unknown. It's once you don't have knowledge about something, it's very normal to be afraid of. Because you don't know what to expect. So the way to overcome it is to gain knowledge, understand the situation that you're in, and take a risk. So one way to overcome, let's say, imposter syndrome, that is to build things and put yourself out there. Like I mentioned, the more you practice, my math teacher always used to say PMP, like practice makes perfect, that she stuck it on top of the whiteboard. She'd always remind us, you want to get good at math, you just got to keep practicing. So you just PMP, just practice makes perfect. You're not going to get it the first time, then you're going to get better. And then you getting those affirmations from other people also helps in some ways, although you shouldn't depend so much on that. But it definitely helps, when your boss tells you that, oh, you did a good job, or when you post an article and you get people's feedback about it. So it helps you gain confidence. So and to do that, you need to put yourself out there, because if it's just you and your thoughts, it would your thoughts will consume you. So yeah, put yourself out there, build. Don't be afraid to fail. So yeah, just PMP.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah,
Because this
sure.
is a really important topic to me. So I really believe that we can always come up with, we have all these things that we want to do, but we can always come up with reasons why we shouldn't do them. And those reasons, the more you're afraid of something, the bigger the goal is, the more the reasons just stack up and pile up. And so, again, you're always going to find those reasons, but I really encourage everyone to just choose to want something more than that you're afraid of it. And if you're able to convince yourself that even those hurdles, yes, they're going to exist, that what you want is bigger, do it.
Yeah, and I think as someone else was saying, if you're doing it out of love, not out of being scared, that's where it actually turns out to be great. Because if you're scared, then everything will just seems to be wrong. You will question things. But if you're doing it out of love, then that's where you're just enjoying it. And there's this thing that I've learned like recently as well, where I was so affected by the fact that someone else is better than me in a team. And I mean, I'm joining a team of individuals who are like very strong technically. And every time seeing them succeed more than me, I felt so bad within. And it kind of, I was in a kind of a mini depression by that time, but then there are a couple of people around my circles that helped me to realize that the reason why I get this feeling is because I put my ego first, and I don't put the reason why I'm actually doing it to begin with. If I put the reason why, and which is helping people, like in the case of Amazon, it's helping authors to get a better experience at our platforms, then that ego just goes down, and the desire to help comes in. The desire to help people who are struggling with publishing and would want to see their books live. So that's the kind of the moment where you realize that that's kind of thinking where you just keep on being affected by people praise or like criticism is where your ego comes out, and that's not something that you would want to have in your life. You would rather want to focus on helping. So when you're focused on that, whatever happens, good or bad, it doesn't really necessarily affect you. You're just focused on helping and fixing the issue.
That's a great advice. Thanks a lot, Dara. I totally agree with that. And I noticed like sometimes we beat ourselves up, for thinking, like, why am I not better and things like that. But yeah, I read this somewhere last year saying that, it's actually a good sign when you start. I mean, I'm not saying that you should keep questioning yourself and stuff like that, but, the fact that you start thinking, it shows that you are passionate about what you're doing. So like for Dara, she mentioned that knowing that someone was better, that she wasn't that happy about it, and that's because she's passionate about what she does, right? So yeah, that's why I think loving what you do and having the passion in what you're doing would actually take you to places, and it would help you achieve things and push yourself to keep improving and getting to where you want to be, where you envision yourself to be. And yeah, so thanks a lot for sharing that. Yeah, so Kamra, I want to ask you, you've been in the industry for quite some time now, and from your point of view, how has the tech industry changed in the past 5 years or, yeah.
Wow. There's like, I mean, so many ways, like technology changes so fast. Things and frameworks change within a few months. Sometimes, services get replaced, and things like that. What I've seen change a lot is there's a lot more focus now on, like the DevOps side, like operations, machine learning, building your pipelines, also ML, explainable AI. Sorry, it's very technical, but when you ask me this, this is what actually comes to mind, right? And then, you have new ways of machine learning. So, with the same compute, you can get better results. Yeah, a lot of trends, mostly for automation, automating pipelines is what I see a lot. And another one, also ML and explainable AI. So being able to explain, models and the results of your models to business people as well. Yeah, huge trends going forward as well.
All right.
It's a very technical answer. When you ask me that, that's what I think about.
No worries, but that's the reason I asked that is because I noticed like so I've been working on building communities and growing communities. So one thing that I noticed is that many people they have trouble keeping up with what's going on, and especially for someone who's getting started in the industry, there's so much going on, and you don't know where to venture, what's your passion, and computer science alone isn't gonna like give you a definite answer what path you want to take. And once you go there, you realize there are so many different things that you can venture into.
Yeah,
so,
I think like everything is interrelated, right? So I was a quant first, maths and programming. That was fun. Then I was a data scientist, right? Then I did, building apps, digital prototyping, that type of engineering. So I think everything is related, right? And the more you know, and the more you empower yourself with the knowledge, the more adventurous you are with learning new skills and coding new things. Like, it's better for you. But it's not everything is siloed anymore. Even like the AI stuff, you can be, replaced with an API at the end of the day. It's very important to always stay curious and learn things. But it's so broad. Like, if you ask me what I'm going to be after this, like, I have no idea. But for me, it's important to, be passionate and enjoy what you're doing, but also to have your purpose. Like, if you feel like, what you're doing is no longer purposeful, that sucks. But always be passionate and always be curious. It will give you rewards later in life.
Awesome, thanks for sharing that, Kamra. So we'll move on to Devi with one last question, because we will ask her the question first, and then after answering that, she will have to leave the call. So, Devi, so you're working on EduTech, and we're wondering, what is your envision? Like, how do you envision EduTech in the next 5 years, let's say?
That's such a great question, and apologies again that I have to rush in a few minutes. But I think that like the education landscape is so exciting. I think parents, teachers, students, everyone is changing in their minds about how material is consumed. And I think that in 20, 30 years, actually even earlier, schools are going to be optional. I think some people are going to do homeschooling. In fact, 10% of our clientele, they're homeschooling fully. A lot of them are based in Indonesia, and they go to local schools, and everything is online school anyway. So a lot of the parents have said, okay, let me just opt my kids out from school, and let me do, hire a company like Ascend Now or someone else to run a private, personalized coaching for my kid. So it's just so exciting. I think online Sky School, very much an option. Now we see like virtual MBAs, right, becoming so common as well. So I think it's fundamentally thinking about what is an in-person school offer versus an online school. What are the parts that I can replicate using tech? What are the parts I cannot replicate using tech? I think socially, right, that's a big part of the school. You make your best. I don't know about you guys, but I made my closest friends in high school or middle school, and you have all these sports competitions and these extracurriculars. So how do we replicate that in an online setting? Very much a question that we think about a lot. I think the second part of this, and this is a little bit long-winded, but the second part is, how much autonomy does a student really have in what, why, and where they learn? I mean, when you guys were in school, did you ever get a question saying, hey, Amrita, what do you want to learn today? Tell me what you want to learn. Design the curricula for one day. It's unheard of, right? So I think that's something we feel so excited about, and a lot of our courses are part of ingrained student-driven, not teacher-driven. So I think that's another piece that potentially can see more traction.
I'm really looking forward to this, revolution in the education system, because I know many students, you feel that you're forced into something, and they don't have an option to choose what's best for them. I mean, like, they're just told what's best for them, and some people just end up giving up on continuing their studies and stuff like that, because just because they couldn't do what they wanted. So yeah, thanks a lot, Devi, for sharing this, and I am looking forward to this as well, and I'm sure most of us are too. So Devi will have to leave right now. So thanks a lot for joining us again. It was great talking to you. And we hope to stay in touch.
Thank you so much.
Okay. We have few other questions. We'll be ending soon. Before that, just a few questions. So since we're talking about women in tech today, I want to ask you, why do you think we need, what is it that you think that, something unique that women bring in tech and leadership roles? How do you think, there's something unique about it? Any of you, if you have something to say, feel free to.
I don't want to stereotype, but I think like we generally have like higher emotional intelligence and a lot more empathy for people, and when it comes to teams and managing people. Yeah, that's what I think the big difference is. Like, it's a different perspective, right? So we tend to be, a lot more emotionally synced with people that we work with, and we're also more like we can also pick up, when people are not feeling great, or things are going badly as well. But I also think we also have a lot more empathy, so we're able to see from different people's point of views, and that tends to be very constructive when you're dealing with a lot of different people and you need to come to a solution.
Yeah, similar to that, I think I think women are just more intuitive than men. So it does have a lot, like what Kamara was saying about like managing people and having that empathy in terms of like team dynamic is really important. But I do notice that when we're doing our product roadmap planning every quarter, every year, it is nice having a couple women in the room. For the longest time, I was the only one, and I kind of had to like feel a lot of things out in terms of, and like be that only source of intuition, and kind of like understand that. And having a couple more women in the senior leadership team now I've noticed a big difference. And I don't even know how to articulate it other than just that like things aren't as, we don't make decisions so quickly. We slow down a little bit when we have a few more women in there because they start asking more questions and probing a little bit more.
Yeah, there is this difference in terms of men being more risky compared to women. So if we're talking about the long-term perspectives, then if you were to work in more of a stable industry, then women would be a better leader. But if we're talking about something more riskier, then probably men. And in general, there is this article I've read about this research, and it basically says that men tend to have a lower kind of toleration towards risk. So if they kind of fall from the high, it's really hard for them to come up again. Whereas for women, if we fall from the high, we will just go to the shops again and sell the food from there. So for us, it's like we don't have that strong pride out there that will stop us from going back to the roots. But at the same time, we're not going to risk as much as men do. Like, men risk really, really highly. Even for me, like right now, when I see them risking this much and saying things so boldly, I still struggle to go for it as much as they do. So there's this pros and cons in every situation.
Yeah, I would say also like creativity, building on what the other said. Like, I think like being in a university and working in different projects, and I think the time where I'm in a project where it's all just males, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's just more rigid. Like, they just want to get this product developed. But I think so when I'm in a project where there's more girls, like, you get all these creative ideas in terms of like design, in terms of like how would it impact the users and all of that. So I think that's something that women can bring to the table, just like Rachel mentioned, in terms of product design and management, thinking of things in a more intuitive way. That's something that women bring to the table.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that's one good thing when we have like a good balance in a company with, men and women, because, there are diverse people and we can bring in different things, we can contribute in different ways. And I think that's how we sort of like complement each other, right? And speaking of that, from what I've noticed is like whenever I go for these tech events, or even being a part of the tech team at work, I noticed that, it's always 80% men and there are like 20% women. Yeah, so like, how do you think, or like, how can we support women in, this, in getting into this field? Because I keep wondering, is it something that, we're not exposed to enough? Probably that's the reason why we don't see that many women in the tech industry. So how do you think we can support women and empower them to be a part of this community?
Join Women Tech Maker Scale.
Totally agree on that.
Community, resources, and visibility to women in technology. And you can meet a lot of like-minded women there as well in the technology community in Malaysia, which I think is important because it's important to be able to talk with people like you, because you might not see, you might have your girlfriends, they might not be in the same industry and they don't have the same interests. So it's really nice to have a community where people have the same interests and the same drive and the same curiosity. Yeah.
I'm the only go ahead, go.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm the only really non-tech person here, but I think there's still this, there's still this stigma that if you're in tech, you have to be techie. But there's so many roles that support a technology company so you can still be in tech. And yes, I'm on the product team as well, so I'm a little bit techie, and I do work with the technology team constantly with our developers, our front-end developers. But I think there's so many opportunities for more people to get involved in technology, even if it is working in HR, if you are an HR professional, or if you're working in marketing. I mean, technology teams need marketing, and you don't need to have tech background. So I do want, and I encourage quite a few of my friends who are in more traditional industries to consider moving to tech companies. And so I am trying to have those conversations as much as possible, just to get them to think about it, because there's so, the growth opportunities in tech are tremendous. And I'm not even going to waste anyone's time because anyone here knows that. But I do think that getting more yes, we need more women in the technical roles for sure. But I don't want women to think that tech altogether means that they're coding.
Yeah, I think that's a very common misconception that many people have. They think, to get into the tech industry, you've got to be like this programming god or something. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's something that has to be, preached to many people, because that's definitely something many people don't, that's stopping many people from entering the tech industry. They tend to think that, only if they have technical skills, then they get to be a part of it. But, Rachel is like a role model here for us to, show that, that's not true. You don't necessarily have to have a CS degree or something to be part of this tech industry. Yeah, so moving forward, I want...
To add on here for this part of it. There is this thing that Fatima mentioned about her country being not necessarily as vibrant as KL community, and I think same applies to my country in Kazakhstan. And I guess that's also a kind of a blocker that we could overcome in terms of bringing more women into tech, because there are a lot of girls who are interested. And if you look at kids in general, they don't have this biasness towards gender. They're just interested. And getting them there and getting them on board is what is critical, in my opinion. And actually educating adults on how to approach this kind of interest and how to teach them towards moving into tech field, that's something important. And also creating more communities. So in my country, I've actually helped this girl to be an ambassador for Women Tech Makers, as Kamra was once before. So yeah, there's so many possibilities, and there's so many ways to actually encourage more women. And by being also as a role model as well for these girls who are just starting out is a great opportunity. And I actually mentor a lot of girls in my country just to get them on board. And for them, they haven't even heard of this GDG group, to be honest. Like, that's how far they are from knowing about all of these opportunities that are there available. You just grab it. So that's something that is more about awareness, and that's what we can bring to more of like countries that have less clue about all of these opportunities out there.
They're lucky to have you. Yeah. So, Fatima, what advice would you give to women out there who are aspiring to be a part of this field? Anything you wish you had known when you were first starting?
Yeah, it would just be sort of like a summary of like the points that I mentioned, is to just understand like the opportunities that techs give. Like Rachel mentioned, you don't necessarily just have to be coding. There's so much you can do. Meeting other women in the community helps a lot. Like for me, like when I would like look at people working at these companies and all that, I wouldn't see people like from the same background that I am. Like I come from Afghanistan, and there's not a lot of women in technology over there. Now there's more, like there's great women in technology there. There's a budding community there. But yeah, we need more of that. When you see someone like you in that industry, it helps you want to see that, oh, okay, I can also be part of that. So yeah, keep improving yourself. Read more books, be involved in the community. Understand the most important thing is like a lot of the point that was mentioned is know your why, knowing your purpose, because there will be times where you'll fail, you'll feel very low, but knowing the why, your purpose, will keep you going forward. So yeah, identify that earlier on, and always refresh it. Whenever you wake up, you understand, okay, so why am I actually going to work today? Like, why am I bothering coding this thing? So knowing that helps you going.
Thanks for sharing that, Fatima. Kamra, how about you? What's your advice?
Like always be curious, always be adventurous. Like like what Rachel said, it's not about just coding or technology. It's just like self-improvement, and be always learning whatever it is. You don't need to be a coder, you don't need to be technical, but you need to learn, because the industry changes so fast, technologies evolve so fast. As long as you're always curious, I think, and always learning, you will go far. Another thing is, don't be afraid to fail fast, and learn how to recover, because you never know, and you can never improve if you don't let yourself fail. And when you fail, I think that's when you also learn the most, and you don't make the same mistake again. So never be afraid to put yourself out there, and never be afraid to fail, or ask stupid questions as well. Because most of the time, you may think the question is stupid, but then you realize nobody knows the answer to it, and it's actually not a stupid question.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Totally agree with that. And Dara, how about you?
I think one of the most important kind of advices I usually give is to basically take programming language as a tool, not something that is like a credo or anything, because in each and every use case, in each and every situation, this or that programming language helps more. So identifying that and taking all the pros and cons and basically understanding what is the trade-offs, and make a decision based on that, and use it as a tool, not as like main thing, helps you to achieve your goal. Because even during the few months of work in hackathons or any other fields or any other projects that I've been building, I've been working with like React, Ruby, Scala or anything, and I don't know like fully each of these languages, but I just used whatever I needed, get it done, and move forward. And that's where you're just like understanding what is the language is all about. It's all about the tooling, and building the actual product. Building the actual project is a thing. So that's something that I would wish people understand more, because every time people come with the questions like, what's the programming language to learn and everything, I'm like, it depends on your use case. It depends on what you want to build. So that's something that I would wish people know more of.
Yeah, and if I could add on to that, like besides like seeing programming tools as a means to an end, it's also like my advice for university students is to not overstress about your grades. I think one thing that I don't like about university is sometimes it kills your creativity and your curiosity because you're just constantly like, oh my God, I need to maintain my GPA and I need to get straight A's. So don't like overstress it. Enjoy the learning process. Stay curious, and also, you know, I got my internship offer and even my job. So far, no one even asked me about my grades. No one even even asked me to show them my transcript. It was only just like later on when I got accepted for paperwork. But yeah, it's all about like what you build, like the things you build. They want to see someone that, you know, is curious and wants to post it out there, even though it's like probably not that good of a thing, but you have that curiosity. Yeah, just showcase that. Don't just like focus on like grade as the metric to optimize. Think of your like, you know, your skills and all the experiences you have.
And Rachel, what are your thoughts?
Don't limit yourself to what you know. It's kind of similar to what everyone has said here. The word curiosity has come up a lot. Get comfortable asking questions and let yourself be guided by what you don't know. Camera keeps going out, and so if you keep doing that, you're gonna discover things way beyond what you realize like is even possible within yourself, not only within technology.
And yeah, thanks for sharing that. So we're about to come to an end right now. But before that, I want to ask, what's your International Women's Day's message for everyone out there? So yeah, whoever wants to go first.
I'll start. I want every woman to just be unapologetically themselves. There's no one female experience. And I think, and one of my issues with Women's Day is that it makes it sound like there's like a lot of women, but I do want to make sure that we all recognize how different each woman is. And so be that version of yourself.
And also like to kind of continue on that is that I've come through that myself, and I would wish that this is something that women out there will learn who have the same problem, is listening to others' opinions about them saying that you're not good enough, you don't fit in the role, IT is not for girls. I've heard it a lot. So if you're out there and if you're hearing this, those are just people who don't know enough, who are not seeing things clearly. And what is being seen from here is that every person is unique, every experience is unique, as Rachel mentioned, and there's no such thing as you're not good enough for this. It's up to you to decide. It comes from within, not from the outside. So focus on what's your inner you saying to you instead of focusing what others are saying to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would also add on, like, you know, it's so easy to compare yourself to other people, but always keep in mind that they might know things, they might not know things that you know. Every single person is blessed with like different skill sets. So, you know, find that like hidden treasure within you, understand your strengths and your weaknesses, and, you know, improve on your weaknesses and leverage on your strengths. You know, don't let your gender confine you, or like, you know, just be defined as like, you know, make that your identity. Like make that, like, look at different ways to keep pushing yourself. And yeah, there's always going to be criticism because of, you know, the way who you are, but learn to shut it down and, you know, just focus on your why and keep going forward.
Stay curious and have the courage to create. Would be my message.
Totally.
I love that theme. I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Totally agree on that. So, yeah, with that, I'd like to end our session. It was awesome talking to all of you. I've learned a lot through this session, and I'm sure that whoever out there listening to us, and yeah, all of our viewers, whether they're girls or boys or anyone, they would have learned a lot out of this. I wish I had more exposure to topics like this when I was younger, because that would have actually helped me a lot to grow, and rather than just trying to figure things out all alone. Yeah, so thank you all for joining us today. So it was definitely an honor for me to be part of this event. This with this amazing array of talented and inspiring women. And also to our audience out there, I hope our session would inspire you to continue having, the courage to create. And yeah, whether it's projects or creating impact, whatever it is, just like whatever our panelists have said, just keep going for it. Don't let anything stop you. And I hope that all of us could keep, supporting and inspiring each other, because together, we can make a great impact, not just our community, also, globally. So before we end, the platform is open for any questions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask our panelists here. I'm sure they'd love to answer your questions. Also, a special thanks to Google Developer Space Singapore for this collaboration, and to the Google Developer Group fam out there, Yitin, Shafraz, who have been working on this from day one. Without them, this wouldn't have happened today. And yeah, so thank you to everyone. Before we end the session, I want to end with, a small task for everyone. Just today, spend some time to write yourself a thank you letter. I know many of us, we don't, we tend to forget appreciating the things that we've done. We tend to overlook that, all the effort that we've put in. So yeah, write a thank you letter for yourself. And that's it from me. Anything else you want to share? Any of you want to share?
Thank you, Amrita, for organizing this and mentioning all these great points and the questions. You yourself are an inspirational figure in the community as well. I remember seeing your journey starting at DSC and everything. So definitely you're inspiring a lot of ladies out there. So keep going with that. And
I was inspired by all of you. That's how I got here, actually.
It takes a village.
This is the great thing about the community. We all learn from each other's. And improve ourselves.
Totally. I think that's one of the main things, to network, the value that networking has in you, like the impact it can create on you. By, just meeting people, you get inspired, and, some of us wouldn't have even known things unless we got out there and, communicated with all of people like all of you. Yeah. So yeah, I think, on that note, I would say that those who are watching, or if you think that there are people out there who might benefit out of this, feel free to follow us on GDG Cloud or Google Developer Space Singapore for more amazing content. So that's it from me. Rachel, Kamra, do you have anything to share before we end our session today?
Thanks so much for having us. It's been I think 2 hours, but it's flown by quite fast. It was really nice, hearing everyone's insights and everything. And I love how you have such diverse women, from Malaysia, from Singapore, from Madrid, from Calcutta, right?
Qatar.
Oh, Qatar. I thought you said Calcutta. Qatar. Across industries, technical, non-technical. I think it's been great hearing everyone's insights. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. I would love that.
Yeah, I think I got enough inspiration to go throughout the end of this year, hopefully. And so it's good from here. So it's good having these things to constantly, remind ourselves and be inspired.
I totally agree on that. Yeah, so on that note, thank you everyone for joining, and goodbye and stay safe.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.